Hey y'all, happy Thursday. Let's go ahead and talk about editing things and whatnot and building that end of your author service, or maybe getting some author-like and writer-like things done. See you here in a moment. Hey everybody, welcome in for some co-working, some business building, and more for the Edit Shift. My name is Jenna O'Malley. It is good to see you. Welcome in, fellow soul bards, lovelies, and more. I hope you're having an amazing week. We do have a poll going, and we'll keep it going for a bit. Before we do, I went ahead and shared some links in chat. Of course, if you want to check out the Heartbreathing's writing community, this would be the Portal Hop access point to do so, or the Authortube list and BookTube lists. I went ahead and grabbed Rachel D. Adams from the Authortube list, and also went ahead and grabbed a boot camp marathon link from the reading list. I will get a link. I believe Jody Jean Daniels is going on for Heartbreathings at 8 p.m. Eastern, so I will grab a link. Will be plenty done ahead of time for that. One of our favorite peoples is in the chat. Hello. Shout out to one of my epic members here on the channel. Good to see you, ma'am. How are you? In answer to the poll, I would imagine. I guess it'd be that way for all of you, right? I made a poll today. Your videos are unedited, and because you don't know how to do that yet, I'm going to claim the power of yet for you here. And you couldn't concentrate on writing today. This week has had weird energy. Since you mentioned your videos, I went ahead and shared a link and a shout out to you. Thank you for being one of our members, my friend. So yeah, this week has been weird. Weird. Like I know that we just came off the solstice and there's a new moon and we're having like some sort of energy with Jupiter and whatnot and so on and so forth. And if Mama Maggie were here, she probably would remind me, and I hear her now. There's been solar flares. Yes, because we've talked about them because they're causing tech issues. So today I'm going to first start us off by saying if you have not backed up your tech stuff and saved files recently, reminder to do so is at play. Let's go ahead and, as usual, we're going to cover a couple of topics on building your editor services and similar businesses, and then we're going to get into a couple of sprints, my friends. Let me know in the live chat box there, how many sprints would you like? 2, 3, or 4 this evening, okay? Since we have a poll going on as well. So build your editing and similar services. On our agenda tonight, we're just going to cover a couple of key things, more like deep diving on some things that came up in a previous topic of discussion. So for the agenda, inline comments, reports with returning manuscripts, and your editorial reviews. Kind of what can you expect to kind of include in them and how to formulate them, plus some suggestions of places to get some professional development. So inline comments. Normally this is in Google Docs or Microsoft Word or similar programs where you would go in literally as you're doing your track changes function, and I can show you how to use track changes here next week. Along with your track changes function, you can actually pop in a comment anywhere, and as your inline comments, there's so many things you as an editor could include. Actually, on the vlog I just released on Tuesday, there's a comment where someone had mentioned that their editor, from what they realized, it seemed like didn't use inline comments. Not all editors, beta readers, and whatnot do. I think they are very helpful as a communication tool, and you can see all the reasons why, and these are tip of the iceberg reasons why. These are more like buckets of holding tons of other reasons inside the buckets why. Ultimately, you could provide education here. Like, for example, if you're teaching maybe a grammatical rule, or especially if it's something they do on routine. A lot of the time I will link the video from Schoolhouse Rock with conjunction junction, what's your function? Because a lot of people know that song. And then I'll, this is what a comma and a conjunction do, when to do them grammatically. So a lot of people benefit from having what we call supplementary material tacked in once in a while. Now, I've also used supplementary materials to give plot suggestions. Like, for example, I might link out to one of my videos, or maybe one of Sarah Cannon's videos, or maybe one of Abby's videos, or another Authortuber that has done XYZ on XY topic. You can stay 3 or 4. Cool. We got to vote for 3 or 4, my friends. I think we'll lean to 3 or 4 sprints then. So ultimately, you want to also not only point out what they can improve upon, not just in this manuscript, but maybe with those comments mentioned so far, long-term for their writing, point out what they're doing great. Like, if you literally laugh, tell them and explain why. You can provide logic also as to maybe you suggested deleting something, adding something in, clarifying something. Give your logic behind that, and ultimately try to gear it not so much for your commentary to be a writer giving a writer comments, or an editor or a coach or a beta reader giving kind of comments. Try to frame a lot of your commentary, when possible, from the reader reaction and reader experience POV. 1, you're more likely to open it up to a larger audience of awareness. You as the editor or beta reader or whomever are also then starting to help the author anticipate the reader's reactions. And that's where you can get those mini fourth wall break moments. A lot of authors are doing these now really well in their books, and it takes timing. So when we as service providers see those moments but don't see them catalyzed upon, hey, as a reader, if you try XYZ, maybe the response could be ABC, okay? Also, call out quippy lines for marketing. Again, if you laugh, say so. If you cry, if it makes you want to throw the book, let them know what your reactions are, because those can become cannon fodder for them finding little gems that make their marketing process easier. And again, I'm going to say uplift them. Not just when they do something right, but if they've got your heart, as the person I was editing for earlier today so expertly did, if they've got your heart in the feels, in your hand, and they're just, yank, pull, hello, heartstrings, and they did it good, and they're making you feel anger, appropriately timed anger, or they're making you feel, negative things purposefully, i.e. dealing with the bad guy, right? If they're making you feel those well-timed emotions when they're supposed to, let them know they got it right. Hearing you got that timing right is so gratifying. So uplift them at every turn, for sure. Also, after inline comments, consider what you give them upon returning the manuscript, okay? Now, some of my clients have told me they benefit from some things, and other clients are like, I don't care, I'm not even going to look at it, don't waste your time, okay? Now, ultimately, what I suggest you start with when you give them the email back that has 2 versions of your manuscript attached. Normally what I do is I give them a version that I consider my track changes comment version, and then I'll send them back a version with all my comments removed and all my suggestions accepted, because they're suggestions. They are not required to take what you say as fact, because ultimately author style matters supreme if it becomes a contention between that, okay? Especially in certain instances and certain styles of writing, okay? What you're going to want to do is, in your return email that has those 2 files, so they can see a before and after, or rather a during and after, more like, give them a list of things that they did great and that they can improve upon, but truncate it, okay? What were their brain defaults? What words did they say on repeat? What things did they overuse to the point that it was no longer cliche, but rather ineffective? What cliches should they avoid completely? i.e., is it dated? Okay. Supplementary materials, recap them. If there were really specific ones that you would rather they watch sooner rather than later in particular, okay? What they did well, list what they did well. Now, you might recap some of those what they did wells over in the editorial review, and that's okay. If they needed to hear it once, they probably needed to hear it twice. Does apply. Also, what were your largest areas of focus and most often? Yes, this is where you get into talking about grammar stuff. This is where you get into talking about colloquialisms, syntax, diction, pacing that you worked with most often. But this is also going to be like developmental stuff. If you found a plot hole, hey, in chapter blank, there's a plot hole. Or you tell them, I have some questions about plot holes in the comments. You don't need to list them all right now. You just need to, hey, go hunting for these comments when you do an edit, post-edit pass on their end, okay? This is going to be areas of greatest concern, okay? You did what you kind of sandwiching what they did well first. Here's their areas of most concern. And then I would do an uplift of here's some good reader reaction stuff, truncate, sandwich, what they need to improve on. So it gets highlighted, but also cushioned a little bit, like a good little sandwich Oreo, right? And then, of course, follow-up methods and options. Do they need a second pass? Do you have questions that you think they need to answer with the next book, if it's in a series, before the next book? Is there an issue? Does it have a continuity concern with the previous book? Also, what do you recommend if you need like coaching? Or again, do they need a second pass with you? Now, normally, if I gave back a ton of notes, and I mean like developmental level ton of notes, I might say, hey, if you make a ton of changes, like change 10 to 15% or more, and you feel it needs a proofread, I'll proofread it at half off a second pass, okay? Because normally by then, if you do a deep developmental edit, they might only need a proofread by the time it gets back to you again, okay? So that is a common, I don't want to say upsell, but that's a common option that if you're an editor, you might offer a proofread rate if you did a thorough edit, and it doesn't need a thorough edit a second time, but it more just needs like that final polish for grammar's sake, the lower order issues for grammar's sake. Alrighty. Editorial reviews. So I told you the good stuff was going to come back again. Now, this is kind of, I don't want to call it the formula because it's definitely not formulaic. These are more like the buckets of concerns we'll address throughout the editorial reviews. And this was the way I was always kind of taught to do them, having done both trad and hybrid and indie. This kind of works, okay? Your first paragraph, like any summary, essay, kind of marketing item, always has to have an introductory kind of flair to it. Introduce it to the author, some element of their brand, and why this book is a good example of not only this author, but also that item you called out in their brand. Those things will carry through thematically, almost like a thesis statement for your editorial review, okay? You can do 1 or 2 paragraphs depending on the length of the work. If it's a novella or shorter, your entire editorial review will probably be 3 paragraphs. If it's a novel or like epic length work, you're probably going to have a 3 to 5 paragraph, if you follow me here. That's why we can say 2 to 3 on this middle part and then 3 to 5 on the second, or on the final part rather. What the main characters achieve well. How it upholds that branding mentioned in paragraph 1, take it back to the thesis statement, if you will, and what readers will love most. Again, What about the reader experience matters? Because this becomes a marketing item for your client to use to give like in their newsletter and social media and stuff. Paragraph 3 to 5. So if you only did a paragraph 1 and your second section was only 1 paragraph long, then 3 to 5 applies here. So other solid reasons why readers need to add this book and other works by this author to their TBR sooner rather than later. Kind of has a conclusionary feel to it once you get into wrapping it up. I don't want to say let your summary and essay skills kind of reign supreme here, but this is more of a copy edited marketing kind of item. So you want to have that very concise wording that definitely gives your client the credit where they're due and upholds what they do right, what they do well. And keep in mind, sometimes this can often be some of the first good marketing things your client can share from a reader perspective until they get reviews that hopefully match. Okay. It can be seen a little bit in that way. So professional development for all of you. I've been asked by some people, what are some really good places to like learn writing craft? Not just how to write a book. They're talking like the grammar stuff, sentence diagramming, almost level grammar stuff. First of all, check out what are your own weak points as a writer. That may guide you to kind of consider what grammatical areas and similar that you might need to work on learning concept-wise as an editor. Then that was some really good advice that was given to me by someone who is literally a grammarian. he was the dude who oversaw my my master studies as an educator. And he was one class short of having a doctorate in linguistic grammar. Kid you not. So I think he has that now. That was the greatest advice he ever gave me. Now, I will say there's tons of grammar videos here on YouTube. I've used them as a teacher. I've made them as a teacher for past schools as part of their curriculum. So I know they exist. Yes, you could literally type into YouTube how to do any grammar rule. Khan Academy, KHAN, would be a good online source, and they'll probably be the first grammar help option to pop up for you. But 4 is more fiction, nonfiction. Of course, Chicago manual style reigns supreme for a lot of people. But also check programs by Readsy, Fictionary at your local college, big time at your local college. My local college had in their continuing education program for like a 1 credit hour class at like $125 on just studying grammar basics. Yes, even though I taught this stuff for 15 years in public education to kids, I would even still say once in a while you got to go back to zero and recenter your knowledge on that stuff, especially as language as a tool of humanity changes to match what humanity needs. Okay. There's plenty of online programs. I will be running, as part of the second tier to my membership, I'll be running a grammar course where I'll do quick shots of grammar for only them in the future. Okay, that's coming this fall. Consume at least 1 craft book or business book per quarter. This is my personal goal. You can make this 1 craft book or business book per X amount of time, whatever fits your life. And then, of course, I try to attend some sort of workshop class, paid or free, replay or live, in person or virtual, doesn't matter, to refresh on industry standards at least twice a year. And that's because of how much stuff has changed in the industry over the last 5 years alone. Okay. So any other questions, live or replay, do let us know. Do go ahead and add them in or send them to me. I think what we're going to do, my friendos, is I'm going to remove our slides there first and foremost and get us swap-a-roonied in to where I can add a timer. We did have a vote for 3 or 4 sprints. So with that being said, let's get us a timer and get to the beach for a little bit, shall we? See you soon. All right, everybody. As you can tell, I have a visitor behind me. Meow. Meow. Do you have any more declarations to make? You're being very vocal. Okay. How'd it go, everybody? So, ma'am, I'm looking for, there it is. Is this what you want? So I finished a chapter for a client. I sent back one client edit, and I have another one that I'm like the home stretch on that I'll get back tomorrow, which is good because I have Pearl and Gold to finish. Plus, I got to get my critique chapters to my critique partners too. So we are going to go ahead and do as was requested. 3 or 4 total. That was our first sprint. I also went ahead and added the link. Jody Jean does start at 8 p.m. So we'll probably finish up in plenty of time before she's going. But also don't forget, at the same time, we do have some writing sprints with Rachel, and it looks like some boot camp marathon sprints going on as well, everybody. So, what are you digging into? I don't know why she's being this vocal. Let me go ahead also, and since we have a new moon this week, I'll draw a tarot card for us. And then, if everyone's still focusing, I'll get us back into another sprint a wee bit early, which is acceptable too, my friendos. Morale indeed, Locarina of Time. Okay. And I'll drop the link for the tarot deck for... Didn't even get to shuffle. Okay, so Knight of Cups. Romance, charming, graceful invitations, following your heart and dreams. That's not a bad card to go ahead and get with the new moon that is happening this week. So you got your Knight of Cups for sure, my friendos. Got your Knight of Cups for sure. Hi, lady. Morale indeed. Are we ready to go ahead and jam ourselves into our second sprint? And should we make it 30 this time, eh? Should we? Yeah, we should. Okay. So what I'll do is remove from stage, present video file. Let's go ahead and get a 30-minute sprint in there, shall we? Let's see on my 30-minute ones. Which one do I have downloaded on? Let's go to the beach again, shall we? See you all in 30 this time. this what you wanted? Yeah. That's what you wanted, huh? Oh. Your whiskers don't belong in my eyeball, though, do they? Oh. Oh, girl child. You poked my eye with your whisker. Ow. Oh. Okay, now my eyes... Wait a minute. Girl. Now my eye's been poked. Oh. Yes, we have a kitty. Oh. All right, everyone. How are you? How are you? Let's go ahead and switch ourselves in. We're going to do 2 more sprints after this. Let's see. I went ahead and again shared the link there for Jody Jean. She starts at 8. We might do a 45 and a 30. We shall see. Rachel! Okay, for some reason this didn't pop up for you. May have to treat it like you do Diane's. This happens for me on some occasions with different people. I wonder if it's because I don't have the word sprint in the title. That may or may not be it, question mark. But I did DM you the most updated version of my schedule for next month because it's not on my website keyword yet. Thank you for stopping in. Rachel did host earlier. If you scroll up, I went ahead and gave an SHU to Rachel, so please definitely make sure that you grab a replay. And I went ahead also and gave a cover reveal because this cover is gorgeous. One, as a nerd. 2, oh my god, it's so cool looking. And 3, good example of how to do a cover reveal video, if I do say so myself. Also, grab your anthologies here, formerly known as the Authortube Anthologies. We have Team Bog Hag and Team Beltane. I hear there's been an announcement about the next one. If you want to check where to get yourself applied to go do so. Check out the 2 of Crones on Instagram, please. Thanks. Jillian! Hey, how is it from kind of the land down under, nearby the land down under, in Tomorrowland, where it's autumn? How's is the things? It's good to see you. Went ahead and gave a shout out. Jillian's one of the first people I followed as a streamer here under this account on Authortube. So definitely give them and their teammate Jamie some nerves. It's been feeling like winter came early. Oh no. Every year I've known you where you have said that winter has been snowy for me. Oh my goodness. Okay, noted, but it's actually not too cold today. Gray and overcast, rain threatening. Okay, at least you're getting, not at least, but we're also getting bouts of rain that are causing cooler temperatures. Last night, I went outside literally for like 20 seconds, and it was like someone had a fire hose over the top of the house level, dripping everywhere, and it was freezing cold. So stay warm and dry if you're able, my friends. Got some thunder over where Pasqua is. Definitely be safe, please. Thank you. Also, I have another poll going on over on the post/community tab area of the channel. If you wouldn't mind giving me some input there, please. Thanks. And from our card draw earlier, we got our tarot deck set. Yes, Kitty. A certain local arena has been very vocal. Ouchies indeed. We had a meeting and now diving into the book. Glad to have you here along with Kat. It's so good to see you. Are you streaming as well today, my friend? You're welcome. You rock. Thank you, Rach. Also, yeah, it's okay. Hey, I was complaining back in the early days of this channel that we weren't getting enough snow. I think that karma can come back to me a little bit this year in very safe ways. The house we're living at now would be really pretty in the wintertime. I don't know if I'm going to be here in the wintertime. We shall see. We shall see. Okay, so with that being said, we are going to go ahead and do 2 more sprints. I did say remove. New file video. We're going to go for, I'm going to tack on a self-care, soul care break here. So let me grab my 45-minute video and get that queued up. Kat's not streamed today. That's right. The Authortube Rating Conference is this weekend. So to all of those who are either attending, hosting, moderating more, have a good weekend. I hope it goes really well for you. I saw some of the thumbnails. It's going to be an amazing weekend, as it usually is. And of course, you went grocery shopping and made dinner. Well done, my friends. Well done all around. With that being said, see you all in 45. If you need it, get some self-care, soul care. Alrighty, everybody. I think I'm going to get through this. Whoops, yeah. I'm going to get through a save, big time save. One more scene plus an edit for this client today, and they can get the rest of it back tomorrow. We'll be ready to go. How are for the rest of you? We are going to do a wrap-up sprint here in just a moment. We just, I believe, finished our third one, and I'm going to switch me crink and dismiss that one because I'm probably going to get a 25-minute timer up for us to wind down. In the meantime, Kat has not streamed today. Check out AWC. Check out Kat. Also, check out Mama Maggie. Hello, working on audio files for hashtag writer reading. The moon is waxing. Love it. You just woke up from sleeping and made din fast. I love din fast. That's actually one of the things I was debating about having as dinner tonight. And then it was remembered that there's 4 cheese chicken Alfredo type stuffs in the fridge that need finished. So leftovers or din fast with you. Hope hubby has a good day at work there, Mama Maggie. All the hellos. Hello, Louise. How are you? Sky. Flying in to boop the like button. Girls have is that practice in an hour? So you can't hang around for long, but just enough to do a tarot pull. I hope it all goes well. Went ahead and closed the poll. Most of us were doing either something else or drafting and revising, it seems. For Mama Maggie, the hubby is having insomnia and asked you to... Oh, gotcha. For people who tend to work like late shifts, definitely finding that sleeping pattern is super, super key. So you'd be glad when store inventory season is over. Yes, especially, do they have, because of given where the hubby works, and asking as someone who sometimes shopped there at the beginning of the school year for different reasons, are they preparing just like for a general season, or is it like an audit? Sky to Maggie, sorry for the hubs going through that. Am I weird that I loved? See, my brother-in-law and my mom, when they both worked in kitchens managing nursing homes, they used to say the same thing. As inventory days were a full shift, but even though it was a lot of work for 1 or 2 people, they liked these days because it's not as socially draining. So yes, thrived off of scanning everything and then anything in the store and factory, right? A couple of my students, when I taught seniors most recently, they kind of had these kind of jobs where they would go in at like the shift that would get off at like 7 or 8 in the morning because they would make it home in time for my 9 a.m. class. They had me first thing in their morning, quote unquote. And they basically come from work to school. And yeah, they said this is why they loved that shift. It was an exhaust. Now, mind you, they were super seniors. Let me clarify. These kids were 19 years old, still catching up a 5th year to make up classes they flunked and whatnot. So these kids definitely had these jobs and were legally of age to work these jobs, but they said they loved these jobs because it was like the easiest because no interruptions. You just kind of get your to-do list, and once you're done, your full hours were done. You drew, oh, nice for the pentacles. Oof, feel the card. Finances are your biggest fear. However, let's take that to a cups mentality. Tie your pentacles into your cups so that way it can flow to you. Are you only looking at a glasses half full situation? Can you refill the well? Because it's refillable. Heads up. Sonic sometimes gets binged by Eggman and the coins go everywhere. But can you pick them up, Sonic? You've got this. You've got this. Mama Maggie to Sky, usually he's good for inventory because at his last store, he was inventory captain. Oh, so it's kind of old hat by this point, given that he has those managerial organizational skills. Gotcha. Sky to Maggie. Yes, exactly this. Exactly what my students agree. This. Especially in retail. This. Mama Maggie, Home Depot has an entire accounting crew, but the store staff still has to prep the store, and the guy who is in charge this year. Oh, no. I'm so sorry. That just adds undue chaos. Yeah, that's that. You got to listen to your crew. If especially if you are newer management, not necessarily younger, but newer to that position, younger to that position in that company, listen to your elders applies regardless of your actual physical age. I'll agree with that 300%. On that note, everybody, I think we're going to go ahead and I'm going to grab a 25-minute timer to wind us down. Nice sheet. Which one do I have handy? I have, I think, a castle hallway. Do I? See you all in 25. Let's wrap it up. All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead, actually, whoops, haha. Let me go back here to the very beginning. We're going to wrap it up, wind it down. Make sure, if you have not done so already, my friendos, that you are saving your work. It's been wonderful to hang with you. I do believe Jody Jean is starting in about 20 minutes. Please do check out over on the Heart Breathing side. Or, of course, you can check over on BookTube, Authortube, and more for different sprints throughout the evenings. Please take care of yourself, everybody. Your voice has always mattered. Dang it, now certainly more than ever.